This is Join Us in France, episode 422. 422. Bonjour, I'm Annie Sargent, and I am happy to bring you a little bit of France right into your ears. Today, I bring you a trip report with Elsa Acevedo about her return trip to Paris with her husband and 4 children. It was a great family trip, something they had been looking forward to for a long time, and it was a great hit with the Acevedo family. Family vacations are always a bit of a challenge, but you can make them work with planning, of course. And memories are what I find myself cherishing years later, especially with kids growing up so fast. Enjoy them while they are still at home. Elsa has plenty of great tips to help you plan your own family trip to France. When this episode goes live, I'll be getting ready for my New Year celebration at home with my husband, daughter, and her girlfriend. Most people in France attend big parties for New Year's, but I prefer to stay home, have a nice meal, few drinks, play board games, or chit-chat, whatever, but be warm and safe at home. If we lived in a big city, I think I would go to a fancy restaurant and then walk home from the restaurant. But the only restaurant in my village is closed on New Year's Eve, and I can't blame them. For some reason, this year I want to try and make an English trifle for dessert. I haven't had one in so long, and that's a dessert that stands out, right? Because we don't make it every day. And I can also make it a few hours ahead of time and let it cool in the fridge for a few hours until, so I have time to get the other food ready for the party. So hopefully the trifle will work out for our New Year's Eve feast. I'm sure it's not a traditional French anything, but that's what I want. So that's what I'm going to make. I will let you know. This podcast is supported by donors and listeners who buy my tours and services, including my itinerary consult service and my GPS self-guided tours of Paris on the Voice Map app. And you can browse all of that at my boutique, joinusinfrance.com/boutique. I won't share any remarks or news after my conversation with Elsa. I'll be back with those next Sunday. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. May it bring you joy, peace, and perhaps a vacation to France. That sounds great to me. Bonjour, Elsa Acevedo, and welcome to Join Us in France.
Bonjour, Annie.
Very nice to talk to you about your trip to Paris. And you named this Paris, We're Back. So obviously you had a good time the first time and you wanted to do it again, right?
Yes, indeed, we did. This was also another family trip. So, it's my husband and I and a 23-year-old, which is my daughter, a 16-year-old boy, and then another 12, and then 10.
Fantastic. So a big family. Did it make it difficult? Like, did the kids have different expectations, or did they kind of all play along really well?
Well, they're all different ages, so you can't really say the expectations is completely different for everybody. So this trip, we decided to let them pick a little bit of what they wanted to come back to or have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or what to see again,
Right. So you were only in Paris for 4 days this time, is that right?
No, we were there exactly 8 full days.
And the first time you were in Paris, you were there for how long?
I was there for about, I want to say 12 days, something like that. It was almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, so you spent plenty of time. That's a good amount of time to spend in Paris. So let's talk about the things that you enjoyed most and why. Oh, what time of the year was this trip?
This time we went in June.
Okay. And so what were your favorite things that you did as a family?
So I put my top 10. And again, this is all like not only me picking them, it's picking, letting the kids pick too.
Mm-hmm.
So our top one would be Versailles. This was our second time there, but they still enjoyed it because it's too big. There's always something new to find out there.
Yeah. So did you get to Versailles? Did you take the regional train, the RER?
Yes, we did. We're always using the metro. So we're all into that. It wasn't hard at all. We just had to transfer from, the regular metro to the RER and just making sure you get the one that says Vic. It'll take you right there.
So what particular things in Versailles did your kids enjoy? Was there something you did that was particularly fun?
Well, last time we did the castle. So this time we actually did the gardens. We went to, what is Marie Antoinette?
Oh, yeah, the Hamlet.
The Hamlet. That's where we were. The bad thing about it, Annie, to be honest with you, it was one of those hot days. It was a Saturday. It was really bad. But we ate a lot of ice cream, a lot of snacks over there. So it was okay. We ended up doing, I'm not sure if you've ever had the experience of doing that. It's called Serenade. So what you do is you pay when they take you to the castle and they give you an example, not the castle, but the palace. They gives you an example of how they had their parties, their balls. So that's a nice experience. A lot less people and you get to see the castle again,
Oh, so you did a private tour of some sort.
It's not a private tour, but it's called the Serenade. So it's usually after, I think 6:00 or something, you go in, it's about an hour. They dance or whatever. And then you go through the castle. This time they did it. We were able to go into the chapel, which sometimes it's closed. So they serenade it there. So.
Wow, I've never heard of this.
It's a nice experience. Yes, and they're all dressed up like they used to be dressed up, before with those big wigs and big long dresses and all that stuff. So that's another experience you could have,
That's great. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. I don't think anybody's ever mentioned it. So that's fantastic. And so your second favorite thing was the Arc de Triomphe. Again, an unexpected, thing because Arc de Triomphe, well, there's a lot of traffic around there. What did you like about it?
I don't know. It's just the experience of, going up the steps, the views. The kids, I don't know, for whatever reason, they love it. And it wasn't the first time. It was the freaking time. So that's something they really enjoy, just walking around,
Well, the kind of statues on the Arc de Triomphe are quite impressive. And it's true that the view from up there is fantastic. And just looking at the crazy amount of traffic around it is kind of jaw-dropping.
I think it is. And also, I guess, they have their little maps there. So you can kind of figure out where is what. So I don't know if the kids, they really enjoy that, kind of like, oh, look, that, whatever. Oh, that's the Eiffel Tower or,
Yeah, they have an orientation table. So that makes it nice because sometimes I know Paris fairly well and it's hard to spot all the monuments. Like people ask me, what's that over there? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I have to think about it.
And I know that the kid's kind of like, Mom, is that something? And I'm like, well, let's go down the list. What do you think it is? And then sometimes, then you go back and verify, or yeah, it is, Bob, or no, it's not.
That's cool. Yeah, sounds like your kids play along very well. Like, they're just happy to be there and just enjoying the day.
It's like any other day, I guess. Sometimes they are. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes they are. And then there's days that they're tired, because no matter what, you walk a lot.
Yeah. So where were you staying? Did you find a hotel or did you have an Airbnb or something?
No, we got an Airbnb. I think a hotel would be too much for us because it's 6 of us,
Yeah.
So we got an Airbnb and it's called Pickbush or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Pickbush, yeah.
So we got it this time there. We had at 3 metro stations, like super close. One was like literally, I want to say like 100 steps or something from the house. So it's really close. Yeah. And again, we're not scared of the metro. That's our transportation. So it's something in that, even though we're from LA, we don't have that. So my kids, for them, it was a new thing for them getting on metro, public transportation, because to be honest with you, over here, it's not really reliable or even attractive, Yeah. We get in your car and that's it,
Yeah, that's true. LA could really use a very good transportation system, but they just don't have it. I think it's the cultural thing. Americans just, they want to be in their own car, and that's that.
Yes, yeah, I honestly do. I honestly do. And it's an
Yeah.
eye opener for all of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a nice experience.
Yeah. So what sort of metro card did you get for everybody?
Oh, we get the Navigo, and it worked since the last time we went. So it was actually easier, to be honest with you. My husband we divide everything in between. So he was in charge of the Navigo. So he was able to go through the app directly. And before we got there, we had our money already
Perfect.
in our app.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So you were using your phones.
Yes, we were. We actually have T-Mobile. So we had text, which is more than enough for us. And we had, the service, not the calling one. Then we would get charged.
Right.
But, as long as we have, Wi-Fi in it, that's it.
Yeah. You use Wi-Fi and the free text, which is fine. Because if you have to, if one of your kids walked off or whatever, you can send them a text to say, where'd you go?
Yes, definitely.
That's great.
Or at least to verify that the next venue that we're going, it's open,
Yeah, that's also important. Yeah, it's better if you don't show up to a venue that's closed. Okay, so your third favorite was the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. So the Eiffel Tower, it was our second time, but we enjoyed it as much. The only thing we did different this time is that another day we went on a day with family, and another day we decided to go with my husband and have dinner. So that was something great. You get to see the Eiffel Tower again in the night. We went earlier with the kids, but another day we decided to go have a nice dinner with the husband.
That's nice. That's really cool. It's kind of romantic, isn't it? The Eiffel Tower all lit up, and it's very nice. Do you remember the name of the restaurant where you had your dinner?
It's Madame Fassier.
Okay.
It's a cheaper one because the other one is the Michelin one.
Yeah.
So it's a little cheaper, but it's still a nice experience. You have your times, you have everything. You get to pick your food. And like you said, it's romantic. We had the dinner. So before we left our dinner, the Eiffel Tower lights were on already.
Cool. So this was on the Eiffel Tower that you had your dinner?
Yes, we did. We did.
Very cool. All right, let's move on to your next, which was the Louvre Museum.
Yes. This is our second time. We really enjoyed it more the second time. This time we decided that we just wanted to go to one section and that's it. We didn't want to go see the Mona Lisa. The first time was horrendous, the line just to go see her.
Yeah.
So this time we decided, no, we've already did that. We did the Napoleon's apartment, they're called. So we did that section. Gorgeous. We really liked it. And then we did a couple of sculptures and that's it. We were there for about maybe, I want to say an hour and a half max. And we were done. Let's go.
That's really smart. Really, really smart. When you're with kids, you don't want to be in there too long. They're just going to go nuts. So yeah, that's very smart. And picking just one thing you want to see and out of there, because otherwise it gets to be really painful. And of course, there are also, I had this lady on the podcast long ago that does treasure hunts in the Louvre. And those are fun as well to do as a family. But, you don't have to do that. You can just decide what you're going to go see and just go do that.
That's what we did. I thought about what you mentioned about before, but this time we said, you know what, let's just really focus on that one that we didn't even knew about it until recently that we started looking against getting ready for the trip, where we're going to go and all that stuff, that I found out about the apartments. And then my daughter mentioned it to me too. And I said, you know what, let's just look it up in the map and see where it's located. And we'll just go directly there. And that's it, And we really, even the kids really enjoyed it more than the first time. So the second time was like, Mom, we should do this more often, even though it's sometimes hard to hear that from them.
Yeah. And the Napoleon III apartments are just amazing. Like, whoa.
They are. It's like, wow.
So did you think it was more lavish than Versailles or less than Versailles?
No, more lavish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's also newer, right? Because Versailles was Louis XIV and this is Napoleon III. So this is 1800s. Yes. So it's newer and they're just absolutely fabulous.
Yes, it is. I think it's a must to go see, because again, might be a lot of people that like certain stuff, but I think it's a must. It's like an eye opener too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
Your fifth favorite was Disneyland Paris, I bet. Tell us about that.
So again, this was our second time. This time we decided not to go to both parks because last time we did 2 parks in one, in one day. So this time we decided just go to the main one and enjoy the rides, basically. That's what we did, the kids. So it's something that if you're there in Paris and you have kids, I'm not saying it's a must, but it's recommended, If you could, do it. It's something that they'll enjoy, they're familiar with, and, you need to do kid stuff too,
Yeah. And it's not that different from the one in LA, right?
Not really. No.
Yeah.
There's a couple of that, but it's also good because you'll see the differences, kind of like, oh, the ride is a little different than the one in LA. And, like the Pirates of the Caribbean is different. And so they like that. Indiana Jones is completely different. They're at a good age. They like rides and you compare it,
Yeah, I think for kids, it's a very fun thing to do. I mean, obviously, it's Disney, they know what they're doing. They're great for kids. Like, people love them. That's wonderful. And getting there weren't any difficulties for you. Just taking the RER all the way there and whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're there. And it's really easy. It's impossible getting lost. It's just getting the RER to take you there and then you're there. Basically, you're outside of the door.
Yes. It drops you off very close to the door. And it is a bit of a long ride, depending on where you start. Yes. But starting from Picpus, it was shorter for you.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, because you were kind of already in the west of Paris. So very nice. Do you have any tips for people on where to eat at Disneyland or how to get through the rides faster or anything like that?
I know there's options of buying. We didn't, to be honest with you. There's options of getting on the rides faster, but we didn't do that. We were in a plan to like as many as we can, and that's it,
Yeah.
Again, we went on a day that maybe wasn't busy. We kind of looked and Googled to see what days weren't busy. And generally it said Tuesdays and sometimes Wednesdays and Thursdays. But I remember hearing one of your podcasts that Wednesdays sometimes get out early.
Yeah.
From school. So then I said, now let's do Tuesday. And then it worked pretty well. I mean, I think Disney is always going to be busy, but it was not that busy, I think, or busy enough that we were able to get on the rides the kids wanted to get on.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, I think, any Disney to get on all the rides, Nowadays, it's too much people go. And so.
Too many people. Yeah.
The food we just got regular food that they sell there. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. And, it's good. It's eatable, It's Disney food. What can I say?
Yeah, it is Disney food.
It's Disney food. If you were to go into those fancy, like chewy ones, then I guess it would be a different story. But, normally it's just regular Disney food,
Yeah. Even in Paris, it's still Disney food.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your next favorite was the Musée de l'Armée, which is interesting. What did you think of that?
Again, I have 3 boys, so I don't know. The first time we went, we didn't finish seeing it all completely. So this time, my oldest son said, you know what, Mom, we got to go finish it. So it has a lot of, again, the title kind of tells you what it is. So it has a lot of old time, like swords. My kids are into swords and all that stuff. So for them was like lovely. And then learning a little bit of World War II, World War I. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's a boy thing or what, but they enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
They even there's one section that we had not seen, and there's like little Legos showing you how Napoleon, how they would organize their battles. So they had little men, and they're like literally like little Legos. So they enjoyed that,
Yeah, the little soldiers. Tiny miniature soldiers.
Representing the soldiers.
Right.
Yes.
And you see the battles and who was where and stuff. Yeah, because it was so different. I mean, war back then was completely different animal, but it's a beautiful museum.
And the uniforms that they would wear, the soldiers and stuff like that. So I don't know. For me, it's exciting, but for my boys, it's like, wow, they loved it.
And they have such beautiful, I mean, they have a lot of weapons, old weapons.
Yes.
And they also have a lot of very fancy armory, stuff that the knights and kings covered up with, and the stuff they used to put on the horses to show off. I mean, these are not the types of armors that they wore in battle. These were beautiful armors for events to show off.
And then you would see like the stages, right? So this is what he wore when he was like 10, which I don't think he was in the battle at 10,
No.
I mean, or younger than that.
Yeah.
And then as they start growing up, so it's fun. It's fun that the kids really enjoy that.
And recently I heard a historian speaking about the fact that because we see these fancy armors, they weigh a lot and they are very elaborate. We think that's how they fought in battle, but that's not actually what they wore in actual battle. For battle, they had much lighter, much simpler armor that was just designed to protect them, and that was not near as heavy as the stuff you see at the Musée de l'Armée.
Interesting. But it makes sense, how would you walk with that?
Yeah, because some of these armors are like 30, 40 kilos. That's like 60 pounds extra. Now, you can put on 20 pounds extra. Perhaps if you're very strong, 30 or 40 pounds extra. But after that, you can't move.
That's true. Yeah.
I think a modern soldier or modern firefighters, they carry about maximum 40 pounds of equipment. So
okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So it wasn't any worse back then. It was about that. But it's just that we see the beautiful stuff and we figure that's what they wore in battle, but not quite. But the Musée de l'Armée is definitely a favorite, usually of boys. But I think even girls would enjoy it. I mean, I'm a girl and I like it. Really, I really like it.
My boys really loved it. My daughter was like, but the boys were just, that's where they wanted to go. And, that's where we took them.
Yeah. All right. The next one was the Orangerie Museum.
We really liked it. It's small, nothing like, the Louvre. So we really enjoyed it. It's something small. It was our first time. And then the kids had been taking a couple of French classes before. So they talked about Monet. So they, it kind of identified it. And it was like, again, a simple, easy museum to do with kids. I really recommend it.
That's an excellent recommendation.
Yeah, it's like an introduction, maybe, and depending how it works, maybe we can go to another museum. This one for art, I really enjoyed it. The kids really enjoyed it too, because it wasn't like massive too much,
Yeah. It's not the sort of museum where you spend more than, I guess, in an hour, you can be all done, like perhaps an hour and a half if you take your time, but it's not super big. It's not super tiring. You see the end of it. You walk around this bottom part that has the permanent collection. And of course, Monet's water lilies. Well, that's just, you just sit. I mean, they even have seats in the center. So if you can sit down, you can just look at them and just go, wow, how did he paint that? That's weird.
Yes. Even if it's it's weird. Like you said, different distance, you could see different things, It's like, wow, I didn't think you can do that.
Yeah. And then you went, number 8, you went to the Museum of Natural History. And that is one that's obviously wonderful for kids. But do tell me why they enjoyed it so much.
You know what? That one, we really enjoyed as a family, everybody. So many bones. It was just the only negative thing about that day, and there's no AC there. But it was the kids really enjoyed it. A lot of bones. You could see a lot of pictures that we took there. The kids liked that.
Yeah, lots of bones.
Yes, lots of bones. Everywhere you turn, you see different,
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because you're like, I wonder what this is, and you try to figure out what it did. Some of the names were in English, some weren't, but then, they have their it was in French, and sometimes they had only the scientific name. But then with the scientific name, you can try to figure it out. A lot of the scientific names are probably like in Latin. So since we speak Spanish, maybe you get, we kind of figure it out. Oh, yes, it's a whale or, a deer.
Yeah, because if you speak Spanish or French, you usually understand one another. It's not exactly the same, but there are similarities enough to understand basic words for basic animals and things like that. And the next day, you also saw a lot of bones because you went to the catacombs.
Those bones are following us.
Yes.
Yes. That one, I be honest with you, at first, I would have said no. We saw YouTube, we had heard you, and we said, let's give it a try. We really enjoyed it. It's really cool inside. I've seen so many, again, bones.
No, but the temperature is important, right? Because you're cool down there. Yeah.
It is. It is. And it's also an eye opener. Like, these bones are humans, but, it's like there's no more space. And that's what happens, So at first they thought me going there because I thought it was going to be kind of like creepy, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't creepy at all.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. The kids enjoyed it. And, we had fun there.
I think it's kind of sobering to think that these people were just as alive as you and me at one point, and now they're no longer. So the message to me is enjoy it today because, it's not going to last forever. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So not creepy, recommended. And again, it's a different way of seeing, bones, and eventually all going to be bones,
Yeah. So had you booked your tickets in advance for the catacombs?
I did most of the stuff online. And if you want, I'll tell you after, as soon as we're done with number 10, and then I'll tell you how I did the tickets.
Yeah, this is important. People need to know the tips for not getting stuck waiting in line forever. Yeah. Opéra Garnier is your number 10, and I love it too.
It was our first time. It is beautiful. I've heard it before in podcasts and YouTube, everywhere they tell you if you don't have time to go to Versailles, go there. If you go to both, it's great. But if you don't have time for Versailles, definitely that's a must in Paris. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
And you actually did all three. So you went to Versailles, you went to the Napoleon apartments, and you went to the Opéra Garnier. So which one was the most impressive?
That was a hard one. I think it's hard for me to pick one. I think every single venue has a lot, to learn and to see and, admire.
Yeah. All right. So now tell us about your tips and tricks to make it a great family affair. What you learned?
Definitely, I think I put my priority is where to stay. And you hear pros and cons about Airbnb. We have never had any bad experience with it, but I definitely think when you go as a family, it is much better staying in an apartment. If it's not Airbnb, it could be another website, but as long as you stay in an apartment, I think it's like a must. You learn, I'm not going to say a complete experience of how to live in France or the city where you are, but you kind of, wet your toes a little on it, like buying stuff at a supermarket and all that stuff, because we had a couple of dinners at home or breakfast at home. So I think with kids, it's the best thing you can do.
How many hours each day were you out and visiting stuff?
I think there was days that we were longer than others, but definitely I think we try to leave the house like around 10-ish and then get home by 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. There was days we stayed a little longer, but it just depends.
Yeah. But you were out a good long time every day. So
yes. And there was days that were shorter. I'm not gonna, and sometimes maybe we were headed home at 7. It just depends on the day. Sundays, it's hard to stay late because a lot of things were closed. And we've learned that we needed to get home before 7 if we wanted to buy anything from Monoprix. It was just, we had Franprix, Monoprix, and we had, is it called Lidl?
Yes. Lidl, yes. Franprix, and Monoprix. Yeah, those are 3 big supermarket chains all over France.
They were just on the same block where we were at, in the same street. So some you walked a little further, but they were there. So we had a lot of options. If they didn't have something you were looking for at one store, they had it at the other one. So I definitely think Airbnb for a family, it is great.
Yeah.
Than an apartment.
And makes it much easier because you have more room. I mean, And booking, you could have booked 3 or 4 hotel rooms, but that gets really expensive very quickly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For a family,
So-
you pay perhaps, I don't know, what, 200 a night?
A little less than 200.
Oh, there you go. Ah, that's good. It's a good price. You did great.
I think we paid like less than 116. But again, we're not at the center where we're on,
Right.
we're furthermore, but we're still in around these Mont 12. It wasn't that bad. There was metros. So as long as you have a metro really close to you, then, you're fine.
Yeah, that's great. All right. The other tip you had was about reservations, tickets.
Tickets. We got the Paris Museum pass.
Oh,
So we enjoy it. I mean, it pays it off right away. We got it for I think the max they sell is for 6 days or something like that. And that's
Right.
what we did.
Mhm.
We just organized our days to fit that. And practically I had kind of like a little, like a schedule of what we were going to do every day. And I reserved everything. I'm not going to lie that we were there on time all the time. No, we weren't. I try to reserve everything between the earliest to start was 10 to 10:30. Most of the places open around 9 or 9ish. And most of the time we were late.
yeah.
But we were able to go to other venues. So basically we just got there. We would show them that we had a reservation and they would say, oh, just give me a second and go in, So for us, it was just like a pass. We had some pass to get on everything. We had reservations for mostly everything. The only one that I had a hard time was the Natural Museum of History.
Because it's not included.
It's not included, basically.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I had. The Eiffel Tower is not included. Which one else is not included? The catacombs were not included. And Opera Garnier was not included.
Right.
So those are the only reservations that I think I did.
Very good. Yeah. I used to recommend that all the time. I'm not sure it's as good a deal as it used to be because you used to be able to go in several times. So if you wanted to go back to the Louvre a few times, you could just do it on that one. So did you reserve a time for the Louvre through the museum pass?
Yes, I did. So what you do is I actually bought the museum pass online. I paid I think €3 more, but that was the only way I could make the reservation for the Louvre. And I didn't want to risk it and not be able to go. And the only reason is most of the website, if you go through the Paris Museum Pass, I'll direct you straight to the other museum that you want to make the reservations. So you will get the reservations. Or some didn't direct you, but you would just put the option that it depends on each website of the museums, but generally it says free entrance. And then you would just put that it was the Paris Museum. You would click on it and they would reserve. But for the Louvre, you needed to have a specific number that they give you for each pass.
I see.
So then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it and, get to Paris and not having the Louvre. So what I did is I just bought them online and I paid a little, like I said, €3 per pass. Again, the kids, you don't have to buy the pass. So it was only my daughter and my husband and I that bought the pass. So it's 3 passes.
Right.
Because remember, kids are free.
Yes. So technically it's European kids, but I mean, they never ask you. They're kids. You go in.
Yes. And last time we did it the same way. And I said, no, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to buy them. And the kids, if they tell me that no, then I'll just buy it over there. There's no problem,
Yeah.
So again, I guess reservations, I think it's a must in Paris. We went in June. So it's not that busy, but I could certainly imagine July, August. And I know a lot of tourists just going now back to Europe after all this COVID nonsense that we've had, that I definitely think that it is great to have your reservations. The only thing is that you need to make sure that you're able to go that day,
Yes. Yes.
That's the only thing.
Well, and also if you reserve in advance, then you're not going to show up on a day when it's closed because it happens to a lot of people. They're like, I want to go to Versailles and it's Tuesday. It's closed. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, very good.
And then I guess another tip I mentioned was learning a little bit of French, or at least the clues of like, do you speak English or do you speak Spanish?
Yeah. And it wasn't difficult, was it?
It wasn't. It wasn't. And like you said it a lot. The key point is, bonjour, merci.
Yes.
And that gets you a lot of places.
Yes.
And I guess an advantage we have is that if they didn't speak Spanish, they spoke English or vice versa,
Yeah, learning a little bit, it goes a long way. Just learn the polite words and you'll be just fine.
And then I also put the Metro cards, definitely Navigo. If you're going to use the Metro, that is the best thing you can do. The Navigo card. It is a lot cheaper. And again, it's something that we recycled because the card, we didn't have to buy it anymore. We used it again. It's a lot easier since you have that physical card. Again, my husband went online and we bought it. We landed in Paris. We had our card activated and it had funds,
That's great. Yes. And if you don't have your Navigo cards already, you can get something called Navigo Easy. And I think they cost like €1.50. And you don't even need a photo for that one. But you need one per person. And then you load up the T tickets is what they're called. Those are the tickets that will let you go around the central areas of Paris. But it includes Picpus. So, it includes quite a bit.
No, we get the one that with this one, we got the one that does all 5 of them or something. So we had Disneyland, it pays it off, honestly, just with the Disneyland, just getting from the airport.
And Versailles.
That's it. It pays your whole week.
And so you used Apple Maps to get around?
Apple and City Mapper. So whatever worked better. Really enjoy City Mapper because it even helps you with the metros too. But sometimes when it comes to the streets, then it would be Apple Maps. For getting on the metros or which metro to get off or what station to get off, what exit to use, City Mapper, I think it's the best.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Another one that's also very good is the Bonjour app. It's the official RATP app. And it works great as well. But, whatever you're used to and comfortable using, that's what you should do. But you do need a navigation app. Otherwise, it's complicated without it.
It's funny. We divided ourselves. I'm always a City Mapper girl. And then my husband was the Bonjour one. Oh. My daughter was helpful. So it's like, look and see.
Somehow you were going to get there. Yeah, it's a team effort. That's great. All right. What about the Flash Invaders?
That one, because of YouTube here, there, whatever we got into it. It's just the app you install in your phone. It's free. And it keeps your eyes busy looking for those little invaders, even adults.
Yeah.
Even mom and dad.
Yeah. So you found a bunch of them. They're all over Paris, really.
Not a lot, but we did. We did. And it's like sometimes they work. Sometimes even the app will tell you if it's an original or a fake one, basically. So we enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a different way of looking at the city because you're looking for that. It makes it fun.
And you had a plan for if your kids get lost. Tell us about that.
Yes. That one, I think it's really important. It doesn't matter how old your kids are. Or even if you're as a couple, we always make sure that especially when you get on public transportation or metro, you might get distracted or something. So we've always mentioned, this is our meet point. Next station, you get off and we'll be there. It just gives us minutes to get there. And then if you see someone dressed up with, that works at Metro, tell them, I'm waiting for this. So I always, I've always told the kids that and memorize the address where we live or our phones so they can get us a hold of us,
Excellent advice.
But it's, I think, a key point. We saw someone getting lost exactly at Disneyland. So it's always kind of like an eye opener that it could happen to anybody, but always, always have that peace of mind and making sure the kids, it's not getting them scared. It's just alerting them,
Yeah, make a plan. Discuss with them. If we get separated for any reason, this is what we should do, and then you're ready. If it happens, you're ready. If it doesn't happen, great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My last one that I said is always have an alternative plan, because even though you have scheduled, 2 or 3 things for that day, to be honest with you, it's only 2 that you end up doing with a big family, but always having that extra one just in case. So there was days that we ended up doing things faster than we thought we were going to do. So then we're like, oh, well, now we have something free. Okay, why don't we jump on the metro? And even though the distance was a little further, but we have time to go this, or we have time to go buy this, or, oh, I wanted to go buy this. So at the end of the day, if we were done with anything, I always pack more stuff, even though I know we're not going to make it. And again, planning is just looking for things that are close to, like, okay, we want to go to the lower. Okay, what's next around there that we can walk around after or before?
Yep.
So that's basically what I would always recommend. Have that extra one that maybe if you don't do it that day, maybe you could do it another day when you're done,
Sure. Yeah.
Having that Metro card makes it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about it, just swipe it and, you're on the next Metro to get to that other location, or even the Paris Pass, if you have that, and you still have time for another museum, hey, jump into it,
Yeah, you can do it. So what were some differences that you noticed between your last visit and this visit?
First one, we saw the streets a lot cleaner. A lot cleaner. To be honest with you, we didn't even see a dog poop.
Wow.
Yes, I was really impressed. Really cleaner streets. The metro was a lot cleaner. I don't know if it was because of the COVID that it gave them time. Not a lot of people were using it, but we saw everything a lot cleaner. I know a lot of museums and venues are getting that little lift. And maybe it's because of the Olympics coming up. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But there's a lot cleaner, this gym than we went than, 2 years ago in August.
Wonderful. Well, Elsa, you had a good trip, didn't you?
We sure did. Maybe we'll repeat it one day.
Maybe. There's plenty more for you to see in Paris. There's plenty you haven't seen yet. So
it is. We've mentioned it before with the kids. My daughters, I don't think we would go again. I'm like, no, there's more things we could do another week.
Well, and also because you live in LA, there are sometimes really good deals on airfares. So you could get lucky and get cheap flights.
Yes. So this time we booked it through French Beat. So we didn't get to Charles de Gaulle. We actually flew to Orly. So we got to meet another airport. So, hey.
And French Beat was okay?
Yes, it was. It's not the same as Air France, but
yeah.
But it's cheaper.
It's cheaper and you got there, huh?
Yes, we got there.
That's great.
It's the same hours.
Yeah. It's the same long flight.
That doesn't change.
No. All right, Elsie, thank you so much for talking to me about your trip. I really couldn't do this podcast without people like you who volunteer to do it. So thank you.
No, thank you. And hopefully this, helps people decide, especially families. You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir. The Join Us in France travel podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2022 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.